You know what's interesting? Disrespect doesn't always come in loud voices or harsh words. Sometimes it comes in silence, in being ignored, in subtle comments that chip away at your confidence. And the truth is, how you handle those moments defines who you are far more than what anyone says about you. So let's talk about 7 ways to handle people who don't respect you without losing yourself. Respect in the process. Don't react, respond. When someone disrespects you, their goal is often control. They want a reaction. They want to see if they can shake you. The moment you react emotionally, you hand them your power. Pause, breathe, then respond from strength, not from ego. Remember, silence is a weapon when used with confidence. Set boundaries and enforce them. People will treat you the way you allow them to. If you accept disrespect once, it becomes permission. Be clear, calm, and direct. I don't allow people to speak to me that way. You don't owe long explanations, just firm boundaries. Respect starts with how you respect yourself. Don't chase validation. You don't need everyone to like you. You don't need everyone to approve of you. The need for validation makes you vulnerable to manipulation. Strong people don't beg for respect. They command it through action and self-worth. Watch their patterns, not their apologies. People can say sorry 1,000 times, but if the behavior never changes, the apology means nothing. Pay attention to patterns. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. When words and actions don't match, trust the actions. Don't stoop to their level. The moment you fight disrespect with disrespect, you've already lost. Your composure is your power. Speak with calm authority, even when others try to provoke you. Dignity will always outlast arrogance. Surround yourself with people who value you. Not everyone deserves access to you. If someone constantly tears you down, you don't fix them, you distance yourself. Energy is contagious. Protect yours. Your peace is more important than proving a point. Remember, their behavior says everything about them and nothing about you. Disrespect is often a reflection of insecurity. Strong people don't belittle others. They lift them up. So when someone tries to make you feel small, remind yourself this isn't about me. It's about what they're lacking inside themselves. And that realization, that's freedom. You can't control how others behave, but you can always control how you respond, how you carry yourself, and how you protect your energy. So when people don't respect you, stand taller, speak calmer, and walk stronger. Because real power isn't about forcing respect. It's about embodying it. Your reaction defines your power, not their disrespect. When someone disrespects you, the natural impulse is to fight back, to prove a point, to show that you will not be walked over. It's a human instinct. The ego rises, the heart races, and your body goes into defense mode. But the truth is, the moment you react purely out of emotion, you hand over control of yourself to the very person trying to shake you. They push a button and you move. They say something cruel and you flinch. That's not power. That's manipulation dressed as conflict. True power lies not in what you say back, but in how well you control your own state. Every situation that tests your composure is actually testing your mastery over self. When someone disrespects you, they are trying to draw you into their storm. They want to see if they can make you lose your cool, if they can make you play their game. But people who have real strength don't get pulled into storms. They stay the calm in the middle of it. That calmness isn't weakness. It's discipline. It's emotional intelligence. It's the ability to say, I see what you're doing, but I'm not giving you access to my emotions. That moment when you choose control over reaction is when you claim your power back. Disrespect hurts because it hits our sense of worth. It whispers, you're not enough. you don't matter. And the temptation is to prove that voice wrong, to show the other person you're strong, capable, deserving of respect. But here's the paradox. The more you try to prove your worth to someone who doesn't see it, the more you confirm that their opinion matters. When you stop trying to convince, you shift from being reactive to being in command. You send a clear message: my value isn't up for debate. Powerful people understand that not every insult deserves a response. They know silence can be louder than shouting. They know that composure confuses disrespectful people because they expect chaos. They expect you to match their energy, to feed their ego with conflict. When you meet hostility with poise, it breaks their rhythm. It exposes their weakness. Because now they can't control the situation. You can. You've taken the high ground, and from that place, you can see everything clearly. Think of the strongest people you know. They don't overreact. They don't chase arguments, and they don't let words dictate their state of mind. They assess, they observe, they calculate. Then they choose their response carefully. That's not coldness, that's mastery. Every reaction costs energy, and strong people guard their energy like treasure. You have to ask yourself, is this person worth my emotional investment? Most of the time, the answer is no. When you react without thinking, you give your power away twice, first to your emotions and second to the person who provoked them. The real challenge is learning to pause in that tiny moment between stimulus and response. That pause is where your strength lies. It's where you decide, do I let this define me, or do I define it? That 1 second of composure can save you from hours of regret. Being calm doesn't mean being passive. It means being strategic. You can still stand your ground. You can still assert yourself, but from a place of strength, not instability. When you respond instead of react, your words carry more weight. They come from clarity, not chaos. You can say what needs to be said without raising your voice, because authority isn't loud. It's steady. The power of response is the power of choice. You choose not to absorb their negativity. You choose not to mirror their disrespect. You choose to protect your inner peace like it's sacred, because it is. The person who disrespects you is trying to project their own insecurity onto you. They want to make you feel small so they can feel tall. But you are under no obligation to play that game. When you refuse to engage, you strip them of their weapon, your reaction. People will always test your limits. Some will do it out of ignorance, others out of ego, and some simply because they can. You can't control that. What you can control is your standard of behavior. You can decide that no matter how others act, you will remain grounded, centered, and self-respecting. That decision makes you unshakable. It doesn't mean you let people walk over you. It means you choose your battles wisely. And when you fight with intention, not impulse. Strength is not about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself. It's about knowing when to speak and when silence is the louder statement, when to walk away and when to stand firm, when to act and when to simply let people reveal who they are. Your composure is not a weakness. It's armor. It protects your energy, your confidence, and your reputation. Every time you stay calm when someone tries to provoke you, you reinforce your control over yourself. When you learn to respond rather than react, people start to treat you differently. They recognize a kind of quiet authority in you. They realize they can't easily manipulate or intimidate you. That's what earns true respect. Not shouting louder, but standing firmer. Not proving your worth, but knowing it deeply. Not reacting to everything, but responding only when it serves your peace and your purpose. The real secret is that respect begins internally. If you respect yourself enough to stay composed under pressure, to control your emotions, And to choose dignity over drama, you set the tone for how the world treats you. People will mirror your energy. If you show calm confidence, they learn that you are not easily moved. If you show that you are reactive, they know exactly where to hit. Your reaction defines your power because it defines your control, and control of mind, of emotion, of action is where real strength lies. Boundaries teach others how to treat you. Every relationship you have, personal, professional, or casual, operates on unspoken rules. People treat you according to the limits you set or the ones you fail to set. Boundaries are not walls, they're gates. They don't block connection, they shape it. They communicate what's acceptable and what's not. Without boundaries, people will walk into your life, rearrange your peace, and leave you questioning your worth. But when you know your limits and uphold them with confidence, you teach the world how to respect you. The truth is, people will push as far as you allow. If you let them interrupt you, they'll do it again. If you let them talk down to you, they'll see it as permission. If you constantly give in to keep the peace, you're silently telling them that your comfort doesn't matter. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They're about controlling access. Who gets your time, your energy, your attention, your emotional investment. Every time you draw a boundary, you're saying, this is where I end, and you begin. That clarity creates respect. Setting boundaries isn't about aggression. It's about alignment. It means your actions match your self-respect. It means you're no longer living to please people who don't value you. It's one of the hardest lessons to learn because it often means losing people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Some will call you selfish. Some will say you've changed. But what you're really doing is reclaiming space you were never meant to surrender. When someone crosses a line and you let it slide, you teach them that it's acceptable. The next time, they'll push a little further. Soon, your tolerance becomes their comfort zone. The only way to break that pattern is through consistency. You can't set a boundary once and then back down when someone resists. You must enforce it every single time. Respect isn't requested. It's reinforced through repetition. Boundaries don't require explanations. You don't owe anyone a story about why you don't tolerate certain behaviors. Calmly saying, I'm not comfortable with that, or I don't allow people to speak to me that way, is enough. The people who genuinely respect you won't need convincing. They'll adjust. The ones who argue guilt, trip, or mock your standards are the very ones your boundaries are meant to filter out. There's a quiet power in being clear about your limits. You begin to notice how people respond when you stand firm. Some will mirror your strength and the connection will deepen. Others will withdraw, revealing that they were only there for what they could take. Either outcome gives you truth, and truth is freedom. You no longer have to guess who's for you and who's using you. Healthy boundaries are not built on anger. They're built on clarity. They come from knowing who you are and what you deserve. They come from understanding that peace is not negotiable. When you set a boundary, you're not being difficult, you're being disciplined. Discipline in relationships protects you from resentment. Because every time you say yes when you mean no, you create internal conflict. You begin to feel unseen, unheard, and undervalued. That feeling is your inner voice reminding you that you've stepped outside your own integrity. Boundaries don't distance you from people. They bring you closer to the right ones. The people who belong in your life will respect your limits because they have their own. They understand that mutual respect is the foundation of trust. The ones who constantly test your boundaries aren't trying to connect. They're trying to control. When you recognize that difference, you stop chasing approval and start demanding respect through your actions. You also have to remember that boundaries are not just about others, they're about you. You must honor the limits you set. If you say you won't tolerate certain behavior, but keep accepting it, you're teaching yourself that your words have no weight. Self-respect begins with self-accountability. When you enforce your boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable, you build internal confidence. You prove to yourself that your peace matters more than anyone's opinion. It's not easy to say no when you've spent your life saying yes. It feels unnatural at first. You worry about being judged, losing connections, being labeled difficult or cold. But no is one of the most powerful words you can learn to use. It's a full sentence. It protects your time, your mental health, and your emotional balance. Every no to something that drains you is a yes to something that strengthens you. People who truly respect you won't make you choose between your boundaries and their comfort. They'll understand that your limits are not rejection, they're respect in action. The ones who get angry when you draw a line are revealing their entitlement. They're showing you that they were never interested in mutual respect, only convenience. And that's valuable information. It tells you who to let go of without guilt. Boundaries also apply to how you talk to yourself. If you allow your own inner voice to disrespect you, to tear you down, to question your worth every time someone mistreats you, then you've broken an internal boundary. The way you speak to yourself sets the tone for how you let others speak to you. If your inner dialogue is harsh, you'll normalize harsh treatment. If your inner dialogue is kind but firm, you'll expect the same from others. Boundaries start in the mind long before they appear in your interactions. You teach others how to treat you by modeling self-respect. The moment you stop over-explaining, stop apologizing for having standards, stop tolerating disrespect disguised as humor, you begin to shift your entire environment. People sense your boundaries not just in your words, but in your energy. You walk differently when you know your worth. You speak differently when you're not afraid to lose approval. You attract different kinds of people when you no longer settle for the bare minimum. Boundaries are not a one-time act, they are a lifestyle. They require awareness, consistency, and courage. They will cost you some people, but they will return to you your peace, your time, and your self-trust. You may feel guilt in the beginning, but over time that guilt transforms into pride, the pride of knowing you no longer abandon yourself for the comfort of others. You stop being available to every demand, every opinion, every expectation, and you start being available to what truly aligns with who you are becoming. Boundaries are love in their purest form, love directed inward first. Because when you respect yourself enough to draw the line, you give others permission to rise to that same standard. You don't need to raise your voice, prove your strength, or explain your reasons. The act of setting a boundary speaks louder than any justification. It says simply and powerfully, I know my value and I choose to protect it. Self-respect speaks louder than validation. The need for validation is one of the most powerful and dangerous desires a person can have. It creeps in quietly, disguising itself as connection, approval, or love. From a young age, we are taught to look outward for reassurance, to be told we're good enough, smart enough, attractive enough, successful enough. But here's the truth. The more you depend on others to define your worth, the more fragile that worth becomes. Every compliment lifts you, but every criticism breaks you. When your sense of value depends on external validation, you are no longer living freely. You're performing for acceptance. Self-respect breaks that cycle. It's the moment you realize that your validation comes from within, not from applause. Self-respect is quiet confidence. It's not loud. It doesn't need attention and it doesn't seek permission. It's knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you refuse to tolerate. When you truly respect yourself, you stop begging for recognition. You stop trying to convince others of your value because your actions already speak it. You stop chasing approval from people who haven't earned the right to influence how you feel about yourself. That's the kind of power that can't be taken away. It's built from within and protected by your standards. Validation is like a drug. It gives you a temporary high. Someone praises you, notices you, compliments you, and for a moment you feel seen. But then the feeling fades and you crave the next hit. That's how people lose themselves trying to please everyone. They adjust their personality to fit whoever is in front of them. They change opinions, silence their truth, and shrink their boundaries all to be liked. The more you do that, the further you drift from your authentic self. Self-respect brings you back. It reminds you that being liked is not the same as being valued. When you operate from self-respect, you start living on your own terms. You stop giving discounts on your worth. You stop saying yes when you mean no. You stop seeking people's approval as a measure of your goodness. You become selective, not arrogant, but aware. You realize that not everyone deserves access to your energy, and not every opinion deserves your attention. The world becomes quieter because you're no longer tuned to every outside voice. You're tuned to your own. People often confuse self-respect with ego. Ego screams, "I'm better than you." Self-respect whispers, "I'm enough as I am." Ego needs to win. Self-respect needs peace. Ego seeks validation. Self-respect seeks alignment. The difference is subtle but life-changing. When your worth comes from ego, it's fragile. It can be destroyed by rejection or failure. When it comes from self-respect, it's unshakable. No amount of criticism or disapproval can move you because your foundation isn't built on what others think. You can always tell when someone has deep self-respect. They don't chase attention. They don't gossip to feel powerful. They don't beg for closure or try to prove their value after being disrespected. They simply walk away. That walk isn't arrogance. It's clarity. They know that protecting their peace is worth more than proving a point. The loudest statement you can ever make is the one made in silence. When you choose dignity over validation, composure over chaos, self-worth over people pleasing. Every time you lower your standards to gain approval, you teach yourself that being liked matters more than being respected. And every time you stand by your principles, even when it costs you validation, you reinforce your strength. You're telling yourself, I trust my judgment. I trust my values. I don't need permission to be enough. That kind of trust builds self-respect, and self-respect builds peace. You no longer depend on the world to tell you how well you're doing. You already know. Validation is external, but respect is internal. External validation fades because it's conditional. People's opinions change. What they admire today, they might criticize tomorrow. You cannot anchor your identity to something that's unstable. But self-respect is unconditional. It doesn't shift with trends or opinions. It's rooted in your character, your integrity, and your discipline. It's the understanding that you don't have to prove your worthiness. You only have to live it. You'll notice that the more you respect yourself, the fewer explanations you give. You start saying less because your actions align with your truth. You stop convincing people to understand your decisions because your peace doesn't need validation. You realize that anyone who truly values you doesn't need to be persuaded, and anyone who needs convincing doesn't deserve that effort. Self-respect simplifies your life. It removes the constant noise of seeking approval and replaces it with calm certainty. When you start valuing yourself, some people will feel threatened. They'll call you distant, difficult, or centered because they can no longer control how you feel about yourself. That's not your problem to fix. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to stand in your truth. Those who genuinely appreciate strength will respect your boundaries and match your energy. The rest will fall away. And that's not loss, that's alignment. Self-respect isn't something you earn, it's something you reclaim. It's remembering that you don't need to audition for love or prove your worthiness through achievements. It's realizing that the way you treat yourself sets the standard for how others treat you. If you speak to yourself with kindness, others will too. If you believe you deserve good things, you'll stop settling for less. If you trust your own voice, you won't be shaken by others' noise. When you have self-respect, rejection doesn't destroy you, it redirects you. Failure doesn't define you, it teaches you. Criticism doesn't break you, it refines you, because you understand that none of these external factors determine your identity. You know that respect is not something given, it's something reflected. The way people treat you mirrors how you treat yourself. If you respect your time, others will honor it. If you protect your peace, others will learn to approach you with care. If you carry yourself with quiet confidence, people will sense that your validation isn't for sale. The world tries to convince you that you need more approval, more likes, more attention to feel valuable. But the truth is, you already have everything you need within you. Self-respect doesn't ask for applause. It asks for authenticity. It doesn't need recognition. It needs alignment. The deeper you grow in self-respect, the less noise you tolerate. You stop chasing what doesn't see your worth, and you start walking with the kind of grace that doesn't beg to be noticed. That's where true strength begins. Not in validation, but in the unshakable knowing that you are enough, whether anyone says it or not.